just like that, we are back. How you doing, Carl?
I'm feeling good.
That's good.
Feeling good. Like I said, we were talking in the bullpen. Just got back from the gym, had a little dinner, watched a little Tulsa King.
There you go.
I'm ready for the podcast.
I'm not familiar with Tulsa King. Is that like a? No, actually, no, I have no idea. What's Tulsa King?
It's like I think it's Sly Stone is in it,
Okay.
and he's a New York gangster taking
Huh.
over in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
Is
good.
he? He's like 70 something now, and he's still active. Phenomenal.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
still in great shape.
Yeah. When I was younger, Rocky was like somebody I wanted to. I mean, not fighting wise, but like physically, everybody wanted to look like Rocky or Rambo. You know?
I
Yeah.
thought that I never wanted to look like Rocky, but I thought I was really impressed with the which one was the one where he fought the Russian? Was that three?
Oh.
It
Well,
had to
he
be
fought.
three.
He fought him twice, so it was either two or three.
Yeah, when he got in shape, man, he was chopping wood, and he was lifting
Mm,
cars and throwing trees and stuff. Dude was like,
hey,
I was like, that. How did he even do that? That is like incredible.
yeah, but even the backstory of how like his script got, shut down by so many production companies to the point
Yeah.
where he was like, "I'm going to produce this myself," and then boom, you have such a successful line of movies. Um,
Well, that should be the question of the night. Like, what's your favorite Rocky movie?
hey,
One is awesome. That's a classic. But I think my favorite one after that would have to be the Mr. T
mm,
Clever Lane. Have you seen that one?
I've seen them all. I respect that one. I respect that one.
I look at
Um,
it now and I look at the scenes and I just crack up laughing, man. It's just so hilarious to me, the lines that he had.
Kyle was saying, "Imagine Rocky's success." Yeah, yeah. I think he would only be able to use. He couldn't use braid. He would have to use mono for all top waters because he would just rip. He would be ripping the mouths of
20
the
pound
bat.
test.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. But yeah. I think the second fight against the Russian guy was my favorite
Yeah.
because it was Overcomer. Running up the Rocky, the Philly steps, all that stuff. Classic. But hey,
And you gotta hold on, you gotta give a shout out to Carl Weathers, rest in peace.
yes,
Because he was like awesome in that whole trailer, man. He's a hell of an actor. Aside from Rocky, he's a hell of
yeah,
an actor, man.
this is true. This is true. I mean,
Predator, Happy Gilmore,
Was it Chubbs? Was that his name? I forgot. Um, but
in the
yeah,
one hand.
rest in peace. He passed earlier this year.
Yeah, he was the man.
But yeah, phenomenal, phenomenal. I mean, he had such a strong role that he was even referenced in Creed, which was a spinoff of the Rocky
Yeah,
films. But
yeah.
yeah. So man, there's a lot of stuff on the docket tonight. A lot to discuss. A lot of exciting news. A lot of great topics. And just so that you all know, the things that we will be discussing tonight will be revolving around the growth of the kayak bass fishing industry, the impact of technology and gear, and whether that gives you a competitive edge. Um, Other topics: conservation and ethical fishing practices, the future of kayak bass fishing tournaments, just to name a few. There are a couple other ones as well. So, if any of those things excite you, stay tuned in. Um, Tap in with us for about an hour or so, and we're interested in your thoughts as well. So we'll be asking a lot of questions to get your feedback because this is how we have, the insight to continue to grow the club to be the best club for those who are members of CRM, but not just CRM, but the entire kayak bass fishing industry. But we need to acknowledge some folks, right? We need to acknowledge our sponsors before we
Well,
really get into the
well,
thick
just to
of
step back a second, just to reintroduce ourselves.
it.
He is Evan Morsell. I am Karl Wynn, and we both run Chesapeake Grill Masters.
Yes,
We're
indeed.
we're a kayak fishing or bass fishing tournament organization, and we're focused on the Potomac River and the Upper Chesapeake Bay. If you don't know, now you know.
Go and tell us about it. Right? Tell all of your friends. Yeah. So we're officially in our off season, and this is our way of staying in touch with all the anglers, letting you guys know what we're thinking about week to week, so that it's not just like a massive update when April rolls around and our first tournament's here. You guys won't miss a beat if you tune into this podcast. Sound about right, Carl?
Yeah, it sounds about right, man. It's gonna be a free flowing conversation. I mean, we're gonna touch on a lot of different topics. I don't know if we can hit them all, but we're gonna try to hit as many as we can. And uh, we got some shout outs. Don't we have some shout outs?
We do.
Shout
We
out to
do.
Kyle.
Shout out to Kyle. Kyle Christovergis. Catch him with Kyle on social. Listen, good things to say about Kyle. The list doesn't stop, but he's a tackle guy. Loves to be on top of tackle. Phenomenal angler. Placed third in AOI in his first year of ever competitively fishing. Good person on and off the water. He's raising a
Randy
future
Fowler.
champion. Yeah, future champion. So we got to get Kyle on the show. I think Kyle may, if he's available, Kyle might be on the show next week.
Shout
But
out to Richard Dole.
yes, indeed. What's up,
What's up,
Richard?
Richard?
Dude, Richard's another stiff. I always see him in the top 10
What is
on the
on?
league list.
Is that a shark in his hero shot? Is he holding the shark?
It's a shark or
Is that
like
a
a
tuna?
marlin? Richard, what is that in your profile picture? We are very curious
It's
because
huge.
it's massive, whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know. But wow, yellowfin
Tuna.
tuna. That makes sense. I'm curious as to where did you catch that, Richard?
The chop tank.
Oh man, yeah, where did you catch that bad boy?
Caught that off of Deal Island on the chop tank.
If only. But yeah, so so we can hop that.
I'm going. Hey, I'm throwing the kayak on the top of the truck tomorrow. I'm going to the Sassafras, man. I got to catch me a
Hey,
tuna.
they're big ones in the sass. I might get towed. I might need a bow mount and a stern mount motor.
I don't care.
Uh.
I'm catching one.
That's hilarious. Yeah, but shout out to Big Bass USA with Chris Leslie. CRM members, even for this year, 10% off kayaks. Chris also has some great deals going on right now. So I would, if you're able to, if you have the capacity, although water temps are dropping, I would secure your boat now. Take it off of your list of things to worry about next year, and at least go down there and see what he has to offer. Talk to him. Chris never tries to force you into anything. He wants the boat that's best for you. Justin Talbot, Old Line Baits. I've been working on swim jigs, and I need to call Justin because I'm looking for the perfect trailer. I like the
He
Demon
has it.
Claw. He definitely has it.
He has a
Um,
great swim jig trailer.
the
I'm
Demon
throwing a
Demon
bunch of
Minnow.
bass off of it.
Right?
Yeah, he's got the crawl appendages. I can't remember the name of it. I might have a bag laying around somewhere, but
Yeah.
yeah, I use them all. I put them on my jackhammers too.
What do you like to throw? Do you throw a swim jig this time of year? Or is that more of a post-spawn summer type of deal for you?
I got to tell you, man, this time of year is rough. Especially the way the upper bay is fishing right now because the water is so high.
Yeah.
Those fish are spread out. They're not ganged up in ditches or anything like that, man. They're tough to come by right now.
I'm with you. Yeah, I've transitioned to fishing more so reservoirs. And I'm entering a tournament with Fishing the D&D. It starts this weekend. So, yeah, I was going to give
Where
that a
we're at.
shout out. Any publicly accessible body of water.
Is that the online? event they're having?
It is online. It's a best 15 tournament. I've never fished best 15 in my life. There's also prizes for big fish, for largemouth, smallmouth, rock bass, I think bluegill. It should be interesting. It's
What are the restrictions on bait? Is it artificial?
artificial. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So definitely check it out. Thomas Aarons is running it. I'm just excited about it because I can fish and just fish, you know? Like, I love being a tournament director, but to be able to go out and just submit fish and then go home, that's something I'm looking forward to, you know?
I would possibly jump into that, but I got too much going on Saturday. I can't
Oh, no,
even.
no. The tournament's from the 12th to Halloween at midnight. It's not a single day.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
get in there. Get in there.
All right.
Yeah.
I might have to find one of those ponds that Dave Crockett fishes. I might
Listen,
have to get into one of those ponds
just put like
on the Eastern Shore.
one of those Apple tags on his kayak. Don't tell him, and then just scout where he goes. No, I'm kidding. That'd be terrible. I never even thought about that until. Anywho, that's the type of spirit we have to me. Justin Talbot, Old Line Baits, phenomenal soft plastics. I would say the best that I've fished, especially when it comes to being able to have a custom
It's
color.
quality. Yeah.
You don't get that in many other places. I don't know of any other place where you can get custom soft plastics, even to the amount of salt that's put into it.
I know some of the winners this year was using his bait. I don't know which ones, but they had like very particular colors that they ordered from him.
And not just our winners, like Justin Largan. He's known for fishing well on the Potomac. And I think he uses a lot of exclusive colors that he built with Justin Talbot as well.
And I'm talking about the winners I won, and I was using this bait. So I forgot about that.
Oh, you forgot about the massacre on the Upper Bay?
I wouldn't call it a massacre. It was just a lucky. I found the magical ditch. That's all I can say, and I just kept passing over it. That's all I can say. It's marked on my waypoint. And we're going to get into that a little bit later about tournament gear and the gap with technology as far as like, is it hindering people from performing well? That's a discussion that I want to get into because I use my Lowrance to a T, especially when you're out there on the flats, marking waypoints after you catch a fish. To me, is critical because you get to see after a while when you catch 5, 10, 15 fish, you start to see if you're looking at the there's a mode that you can put it in where it's just like navigation and you can see the contours and everything. You can start to see how these fish set up in ditches, on the drop-offs, whether on the top, on the bottom, somewhere in between. You can start to paint a picture of what's going on, and it really helps you with your day. That's one. I don't have forward-facing sonar, but that's one of the ways that I use my Lowrance unit to help me kind of pinpoint what the fish are doing and where they're at.
I got you. I think that's critical as well. Karl's currently just using his brain, although he has electronics. I feel like that might change for him next season, especially as he gets more reps and as a seasoned angler. But yeah, seeing how they're setting up, especially throughout different times of year, you can see patterns over the years. That's definitely a competitive advantage. Uncle Randy was just talking about that earlier today on YouTube. So,
block it,
yeah. So I'm excited. Other sponsors that we have that we don't want to overlook are, Mech Baits. Our Angler of the Year was also one of our sponsors, Josh Evans, and he makes some of the most pristine crankbaits that your eyes will ever see, and they're custom as well. So link up with him, Joshua Mech Evans on Facebook, and he'll get you straight. Also, not to overlook anyone else, Kayak Fishing with Price. Santiago, he sponsored our Big Bass of the Year. Genuinely phenomenal individual. And he just has a heart for growing the sport. Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't say this. I was on their Facebook page today and one of their members, Kayak Fishing with Christ, lives in Florida. And if you've been living under a rock, I don't know if you know, but right now they're getting hit with a hurricane.
Milton.
And the guy had his Kayak Fishing with Christ banner. He was up in Florida and he was saying he was all right. He was good. But I thought that was cool that he had his banner and he was like telling everybody, all his buddies, hey, we're good down here. We're good. But that was earlier in the day.
Mm.
I don't know what's going on right now because I know they said it was forecast to hit shore like now, I think.
Yeah.
So,
prayers up for everybody there. I mean, rumors of potential Category 5. I just saw one of those simulations of like what it looks like to go from Category 1 to 5. Category 3 is wicked. Category 5, that's just, it's nothing that you can imagine,
you just have to, I think the mayor down there said it best. If you don't move, you're going to die, basically. So I've been to all those areas down there in the Gulf Coast. I've been to Tampa. I've been to Sarasota. I've been to Key West. I've been on the other side. I love it down here, but it's remarkably flat. There's like no rise whatsoever, so you're right at sea level. So
yeah. All right, let's get into it. Is that cool? Topic number 1: the growth of the kayak bass fishing industry.
The growth of the kayak bass fishing industry, it exploded last year. I mean, it's been growing for years now. But I think during COVID, it really just blew up. I mean, myself included, I wasn't really, I think I had my boat before COVID though. My first one. But the sport itself, because everybody was so isolated, right? Everybody got outdoors and
social
finding things to do.
Yeah.
And it took off. But I think another reason for the growth in specifically kayak bass fishing, I think it's coming from another source, and that would be co-anglers coming from bass boat tournaments. I don't know if you guys, we might have some co-angler bass boat anglers in our group. I know Charlie, I think he fished out of a boat or something or two doing some tournaments. I know I did. That's how I got my start. For years, I fished as a co-angler, fishing the ABAs, the FLW at the time, and it turned to MLF, and then some of the local trails like the Chester County and Conowingo Bass Opens. That's another fun one. But that's more like a buddy tournament. The buddy tournaments to me are fun. But the co-angler tournaments are a crapshoot sometimes. Because you with the forward-facing sonar now, you got a lot of guys that are kind of like boxing out the co-angler. And they're focusing in on, a dock or whatever, one piece of cover. And the co-angler has nothing to fish.
I mean, Christine Fisher posted a video earlier this summer where she was a co in a bass boat tournament, and she literally may have caught 1 or 2, while the boater did fairly well, but he was using forward-facing sonar and just, spotlighting, or whatever you want to call it, sniping bass all day.
You said she caught 1 or 2 fish?
Over 2 days, yeah, as a co, while her boater filled the boat.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. That's it used to be before forward-facing sonar came about. Like if you were a naughty co-angler, like you were casting over the boater's line, it's imaginary line on the boat that you're not supposed to cast over, right? You're not supposed to cast past the steering wheel. Anything past the steering wheel is considered taboo. That's all the boater's water. You're from the steering wheel to the motor, all that's you, unless you get permission to do that. And boaters are savvy. They know how to position their boat where you don't really have a shot, especially if it's like a really juicy piece of cover. They're going to hit it first. They're going to make sure their bait is presented as many times as possible before they move on to the next one. But sometimes what pisses them off is that you catch fish behind them and they're not catching them. You're picking off fish that they should be catching. That happens a lot if you got a good angler in the back of the boat.
I mean, I've never been a pro. I don't have that experience. But just thinking about fishing behind someone all day, to me, isn't the most fun thing to consider. And that's why I enjoy being the captain of my own boat as a kayak angler. You know, like if I'm fishing behind someone, it's another boater or another kayaker, but ultimately I determine where I go, and how I approach fishing, cover, or structure. And I think that's a huge advantage as kayak anglers. I mean, what do you think? I mean, because you've done both.
It depends on your boater. I've had some really good boaters. I've had days where I'm just lights out and the boater's not doing too well. And the boater will actually try to help you win the tournament. They kind of like forget about their deal because they know they're not going to do anything. They just want to see you succeed. I've run into a lot of boaters like that. But sometimes you get boaters that really, you're like an afterthought. You're not supposed to really be catching anything. You're just there to learn or whatever. And if you're catching something, they're shocked that you caught something. I mean, yes, that's happened. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge of going out there and competing because it is kind of weird because you're competing against someone else in the boat to catch fish. And these are fish that they found. And if you're catching more fish than they're catching, and these are the fish that they found, it can rub people the wrong way.
That is to an extent beyond your control, though. Like,
Yeah, I have no control. Like you can make suggestions, like if the boater is striking out, you can make suggestions. Hey, I know they're biting over here. I cashed check over here last week or over here, and it's not that you're trying to burn another boater spot. These are spots these are community hole spots. Where you can go in, get a limit, get your day started, that sort of thing. But I've had incredible days co-angling, and I've had days that have just been absolutely terrible. And they're usually the bigger tournaments because the bigger tournaments, there's more pressure. There's usually during the hot time of the year, the fish are kind of finicky, and I mean, I can recall fishing the Toyota series when they came to town a few times. I haven't fished the Bassmaster event. But those events, I mean, they cost a lot of money. You're talking like $500 to jump in as a co-angler. And the boaters are paying like, I don't know, 15, 17, 1800 bucks or whatever it is.
I had
So if you're
$2,000
paying that
as a boat.
you're paying that kind of money and you're competing against 100 other boats, the co-angler is kind of your enemy. Because you want to catch your fish, you didn't practice all week, it can get touchy on the boat.
Well, fortunately, we don't have to worry about that as kayak anglers.
That's the
And
beauty of it.
and it seems like a lot of folks are making that transition. Um, and as the sport grows, there are a lot of large tournaments now, whether it's through Bass or KBF. Um, a lot of questions that we often get are in regards to what's the right kayak to utilize. Are you going to be pedaled, or powered? And if you are powered, is it stern mount? Is it bow mount? You fish a XI3.
Yeah.
Was your first? What was?
You're breaking up there, so I'm gonna jump in.
Mhm.
Okay, there you go. You're back.
I was saying your first boat. How was that powered?
The Johnny Bow Bass 100 had a internal pod, like trolling motor pod that you can just drop in the center. But the motor was terrible. It was like a 30-pound thrust, and the 5-speed switch would usually burn up after a while. The battery gauge was not reliable. It would say full, but your battery would die. It wasn't. I learned a lot of lessons in that boat. A lot of lessons. I learned a lot about fixing trolling motors, repairing stuff. I mean, I like doing stuff with my hands anyway, but
Yeah.
I would say the biggest key to the growth, when getting back to your question, when it comes to the kayak bass fishing industry, is the affordability. I mean, there are some expensive kayaks now. I mean, I'm for transparency. I mean, the Hobies are what, $4,000 or $5,000.
I've stopped
It's
looking at them.
it's nothing to see a rack of those things at a big tournament, you know. But there's lesser ones, you know, that are just as good. Doesn't have the name recognition, but they're just as good. And every angler is different. You know, one person that likes Hobie, you know, another person might not like Hobie. You know, I'm just singling Hobie out. You know, it could be any new canoe, it could be native, whatever. It's all personal taste. And it also comes down to what your pocketbook is saying. You know, some of these things, I mean, if you really want to trick these things out, they can get up to $15,000 easy, real quick, especially with electronics.
Have you seen Chad Hoover's son's kayak? I think his
No,
name's Austin. If
no,
you all haven't seen his boat, he gets a lot. He catches a lot of flack for how decked out his boat is. I mean, Gene Jensen seems like he's practically his uncle. Like he has access to all of the best stuff, but he pays for a lot of the stuff himself. I mean, we're talking about massive graphs. But the thing is this is what he loves, right? And in his spare time, this is what he does. This is his primary hobby. And he puts his money where he spends his time. And I get it. I respect that. But I think it's a over $20,000 kayak. And it's loaded.
and that's the thing. I mean, I watched you 2 years ago fish out of your kayak with a paddle. I'm not talking pedals. I'm talking a paddle, no motor, and you were still in the running for AOI. I mean, you were doing good at a lot of these events in places I don't even think you ever fished before.
Mhm.
And I was just super impressed with that. And you can go the other route. You can spend $15,000, $20,000 and get your boat rigged up by the best and have the best of the best all on it. Or you can go the simplistic route. Just
Yeah.
have a paddle, couple rods, and some baits, a bag of baits, and get out there and get after it. It's that easy to get into kayak fishing, is what I'm trying to say.
And I do agree. I think that's the beauty of it. I mean, full transparency for me, I was fishing what I could afford at the time. You know, I was building a business, didn't have a ton of extra cash, but I wanted to get out there. Also didn't know if this was something that I really wanted to do. So for me, you know, hopping into a $3,000 kayak or, you know, $5,000 kayak, that wasn't something that I wanted to start off with
Yeah,
because I wasn't trying to go on Facebook Marketplace and sell my boat and all that stuff. So I started off, you know, the Bending Branches paddle, talked to Chris, and I figured, you know, since I'm car topping, the SS-107 was a good fit. But then I think everybody knows I fell in love with the sport. That's why we're here. And now, you know, I'm looking at expanding my my toolkit when it comes to the kayaks that I fish. But you have to be open and honest with yourself, is what I found. Like if you're going to be a paddle oriented kayaker, you really have to understand. I think it taught me how to understand the mood and personality of the fish better, the migrational patterns, how to read a topo map, because I can't cover a ton of water, right? Like the approaches that I take, the approaches that I had to take were like finding areas that had wood, preferably like three different types of cover. If I could find laydowns that had rock within a paddling distance, and then also maybe some pads,
that's
those
money.
those were the areas that I was looking for on Google Earth. And I had to
That's
leverage
money.
things like Google Earth because it wasn't like I could go paddle out, you know, 6 miles, cover water, and come back in practice. So yeah, I think it made me a better angler. And then of course, you know, if you pedal, I think pedals are like the sweet spot. You know,
Yeah.
Jesse, number two in AOI, he pedaled all season, you know. And then of course, once you start powering, you know, I almost feel like I fish too fast now that, you know, that my kayak has a motor.
Yeah, you don't need a motor. That's the other thing. You don't need a motor. I mean, That's the thing. I mean, technology is advanced so much now. We have so many things at our disposal. All these different types of motors. I mean, you can get the bow mount. You can get the stern mount. You can get the pedals. They got different kinds of pedals now. You got the fins on the Hobie. You
Yeah.
got the and of course you got the old school paddle. You know, but there's many ways to get out there, and it's all good. There's certain advantages to maybe an XI3 versus a paddle, but it's very slight. I mean, you can still get out there and catch fish.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Jesse, just to give you an example, I had an XI3. Jesse had a pedal drive system, and he still beat me on the Upper Bay this year. He finished. Well, we were tied, but he finished, and that was impressive. He finished second. We were tied with 83.5 inches, but he won the tiebreaker on the big fish. And I had the old fancy motor and all that, but it didn't make a difference. I mean, it did help in the end, but he came out there with a pedal and no motor and still finished second.
I do think having a motor helps with positioning, though, especially if you want to fish into the current.
Oh, it does.
And be fairly hands-free, foot-controlled steering with a motor. Oh my goodness, you're cooking the gas. That is hot grease right there, as my grandma would say. But we got to move on to our next topic, and that is the impact of technology in gear and whether or not it gives a competitive advantage. If you kick this topic off, Karl, what are your thoughts on that?
I think technology is good. The graphs, they really like just a basic graph. I have a 9-inch Laurent. Gosh, what is it called? I can't remember. It's Elite TI2 or something like that.
Okay.
Not the most fanciest graph, but it has enough features for me to just get out there and see what's happening, the contours of the layout of where I'm navigating. Has a 2D, the 3D, has a down and side scan imaging. That's really all I need. A lot of times I got it on 2D, and I'm just looking at the temperature, and I'm just trying to see what the structure is down below. And I'm trying to stay in a certain range. But then you got other guys that take it to another degree where they got the forward-facing sonar, the 360. I don't know who does that. I don't know if it's Humminbird.
I think Humminbird does it, yeah.
That 360 is mean, though. I've got a chance to see what it does or what it can do on a bass boat. I had a friend. It's actually on my YouTube channel. It was a heck of a day, man. We were lights out, and he was showing me some things with the forward-facing sonar. You can actually see the fins of the fish swimming around the structure. It was crazy. And then we saw the fish. I threw to the fish, and then we caught the fish just like that. And it's all on video, man. But yeah,
you were out there playing video games.
It's a beast. It's definitely an advantage. Doesn't guarantee you that they're going to bite whatever you're throwing, but it's definitely an advantage to see what's under you and how they're set up on it. That's key. That's key.
God forbid something happens to your transducer or your battery on competition day. I feel like a lot of guys are going to be in a bad spot if something were to happen to that competitive advantage of having that type of clarity. I mean, I could see the individual limbs on a tree in just granular clarity in some of the maps that I was looking at online in forums.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is next level. But do you think that cripples individuals as being a more complete angler?
I remember a tournament on the Upper Bay. I was in Mattawoman, and I was passing a point, and it was like a tree and some logs right at the point. Then there was some lily pads or whatever. And it was like 2 kayaks sitting on this point, fishing this laydown. And it was still dark. But I could see this guy had a screen. I mean, this screen was huge. And you can see he had the 2D sonar, whatever it is, the forward-facing sonar, and he's sitting there looking at the whole tree and what's swimming in it. And they're just camped right there, just throwing baits down to the tree. I kept going, but I just thought that was interesting because, I mean, the screen was big enough. I could have saw the football game on it.
Yeah,
And I told him that as I was passing.
yeah.
But I mean, you can pull up to a dock like Milkman 1968 says. I mean, you can pull up to a dock, spotlight the dock, see what's under it. That's an advantage.
I
That's
mean,
an advantage.
and we were talking to
Definitely an
Thomas.
advantage.
We were talking to Thomas about this on Fishing the DMV earlier in the season, but uh, I think his angle was like leveraging it as a pre-fishing tool. You know, if you can run through an area in practice, spotlight the docks, spotlight certain types of structure, see if they're hanging out in flats or deep channel swings. That allows you to cover water that much faster. And then maybe using traditional methods. Like in the way that we got on that topic was whether or not it would be banned eventually. You know, like guys could use it in practice, but
Yeah.
they're not on competition day. I don't know, but the advancements in technology are ever present, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere because of the politics of it all. It's a lot of money that we're talking about people missing out on. So
I mean, guys are scared of it, and I don't know why. I know the Elite Series is a big thing going on right now, but if everybody has it, shouldn't it be a level playing field? Like everybody has it. I mean, I know some guys have like two or three of them on their boat, but like if you have one, that to me is considered a level playing field. Now it's just a matter of finding the areas
yeah,
where you can get some production out of it.
I agree in that regard. I think, especially now that I've attended the first Black Bass Advisory Committee meeting, to me, the only ought that I have with it is the ethical aspect when it comes to sustaining our fisheries, because a lot of fish that aren't typically targeted are getting caught, and the kill-offs from a lot of tournaments
Mm-hmm.
are massive. And when you have these fish that have been protected because they haven't been accessed or cooked nearly as much in the past are now dying off, it's making our fisheries that much more thin and weaker. Um, and these fish kills are real. And if we all love the sport, I think we may have to take a different approach to leveraging this technology because the number of fish that we're seeing is decreasing. It's just people are being able to see fish that they typically didn't have access to with much more clarity. So folks are catching more of the fish that haven't been tapped into in the past. But
Well, I think we can talk. That can be a whole show in itself, right there.
that's true.
Uh,
That's true.
because there's guys that sit there and harvest bass right there in Mattawoman, right there in Smallwood. I've come down to Smallwood just to fish from the bank. Uh, there was a tournament going off, and I think I was coming down there to meet somebody to see the weigh-in. And I got there before the weigh-in, and I was fishing around the store, and there was like a family of people just fishing for bass out there, and they were catching them by the bushels. They had stringers strung up on those little posts going around the where the docks are, the marina.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be about 6 or 7 of them. They all had like more than 5 on their stringer, and they were still catching them. And then they would put them in a cooler, go up the hill, and they're gone. Like people are catching them to eat.
Right.
Blows my mind. Yes, they're catching them to eat.
I mean, you and I both know. I mean, we're in a lot of Facebook groups because we leverage Facebook groups to market the club. But I'm seeing a lot of folks who are like, caught 15 today, kept 5 for the grill or whatever, and they're doing catch and cooks with largemouth bass. And what's to me, and I'll just be completely transparent, I hate this. I really do not like it because
Yeah.
the fish that they're cooking are the fish that we released, more than
Right,
likely, right? So like
right.
they wouldn't have had these fish if we hadn't put them back. Like they're sport fish, they're game fish, they're bred for a reason, and there's so many other species that you could eat. But I
Well, they're
think it's the
capitalized.
accessibility. Yeah, like it's easy to catch a bass in public area from the bay.
That Smallwood is a heavy tournament venue, so there's a
Mhm.
lot of tournament bass dumped right there at the ramp, and they know that, and they swim around to the marina, and that's where they catch them.
Yeah, yeah. Starting to get some comments coming in. Kyle saying that we should do a team tournament. I don't see why we shouldn't do a team tournament. I like that idea. Of course, we'll put it to a poll in the Facebook group.
How would you do that though? How would you I know you and your dad could do a super team, but like how does everybody else match up and just
I mean,
create a team?
you have the Potomac teams, and like I know in Delaware they have different team events. I'm assuming you would register with your partner and enter as one group.
Team Chris Avergis.
The Chris Burgesses. Yeah. But that could be cool. But I guess I'm wondering, would it be top best 10 or is it best 5 for the group? And you
I think it
just
gotta be your best 5.
best 5.
Yeah.
So somebody could be the backpack and carry the other person, but if they catch the top 5 for the two of them. Like say we were a team and you caught 5 18s and I caught 5 17s and only your fish really counted. So I really added nothing to the team.
Well, my back would be hurting from carrying the team, and then I would have to hand you half the check after we won. So it would still be fun, but my back would be hurting from all the work. No, I'm just kidding.
Big back, yeah, And Richard Dahl is saying we could do a random draw.
Ooh, that's spicy.
But it's also looking. Kyle's adding a lot of juicy information. He's saying that you and I could be captains. So the teams, I'm assuming, would be even larger, right?
I mean, what are we, captains of our own team?
I'm guessing within the club, maybe half the anglers would be on my team and half would be on your team. And I don't know, maybe we can have a draft. I love playing fantasy football. I took this year off, and I'm getting ideas.
Yeah, we can do that. We can put all the names in the wheel and just spin the wheel and pick teams.
Okay. Before I overlook this, Milkman 1968 is saying that the states are going to start getting involved. He believes that Minnesota has a new law for live state and crappie fishing. So, hey, we'll see what Maryland DNR is talking about. And while we're talking about tournaments, this is hot off the press. Maryland DNR, the Black Bass Advisory Committee, is talking about doing a benefit tournament next season. One for boaters, one for kayak anglers, and it will be on the Upper Bay. And the whole purpose of it is to raise awareness to get a special piece of equipment that's used to help with breeding for the fisheries and hatcheries for largemouth bass. Right now, we need about $1,500 more. So a portion of the proceeds would go towards getting, I think it's called a bee feeder or something like that.
Hold on. Okay. I
Yeah,
got you. I was about to say, what is this equipment that they need?
Yeah, so it would allow them to, I think, produce like almost 2 or 3 times as many largemouth bass that are in that 6 to 9 inch range that they like to release. So keep your eyes and ears.
Where are they? Where are they? Is this based in Maryland?
Yes. Yeah.
So somebody in Maryland is breeding smallmouth bass.
Indeed.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are efforts being made, and there are a lot more updates that I'll also share. For example, licenses are going to go up quite a bit next year, but there hasn't been an increase in license or trout stamps since like 2004. Maryland is significantly behind Virginia and Pennsylvania and other states. So all that information will come. To stay on topic, though, there are a lot of advancements that are going on. Richard is saying that total length of the whole team. Total length of the whole team is what we go towards the total.
So it's 5 best each, and then the total length.
I'm guessing
of your 5 best.
You attorney X be like 1,053 inches. That would be insane. I like all these ideas. I I like all these ideas, and I appreciate you all replying in the comments because we take notes of every live stream, and this is stuff that we'll continue to do.
Kenny G chimed in. We have a Kenny G update. He chimed in on Facebook. And earlier today, I said I'm putting out an APB for Kenny G because we want to do a walkthrough on his kayak setup, and anybody else that wants to do a walkthrough on their kayak setup for a future show. And Kenny says he doesn't think his kayak is interesting enough to do a walkthrough. I disagree.
Has anyone, if you're watching and you've seen Kenny G's rig, please comment whether or not you think he qualifies for Explorer. Because if anyone's seen Kenny G's boat, I don't know anyone else who fishes that. I mean,
he has the blue sky. Yeah, he has that blue sky. It's like a double hull. I mean, it looks comfortable as hell.
I mean,
and I think it looks like it's foot control with the steering.
I think so, and it moves. Like Kenny G passed me on the upper bay during the first tournament of the season, and I mean, it was like I saw him 1 second, and the next second he was already in the back of the marine. So
Kenny G says no one wants to hear about my rigging. I think I'm one of maybe 2 guys that run a blue sky around here.
Even more of a reason to show us how it works. Maybe more people will pick up a blue sky.
Did you see that U-turn he did in the video?
Come on now.
Dude, that was precise.
The turn radius is immaculate. So I think we need to get Kenny G on here. Richard Dahl wants to see it. So, hey, listen, you, me, Richard, I'm sure Kyle wants to see it too. That's already a quorum. So yeah, we got to make that happen. But yeah, impact of technology and gear. Anything else you want to talk about when it comes to tech? Of course, forward-facing sonar is always top of mind.
I mean, the question was, is there a gear gap impacting competition? And I think the answer, what do you think the answer is? Yes or no?
That goes without saying. It's definitely a yes. It's definitely a yes.
You think so?
I mean, if you're an angler that desires to be competitive, then I'm assuming that you're practicing what you do. And if you're practicing leveraging technology that literally shows you exactly where to cast, it's hard for me to imagine that with ChatGPT, forward-facing sonar, all the YouTube content that's out there, how can you not have a competitive advantage over someone who's going out with a regular flasher, 2D, and in general knowledge? Like,
you got the Roland Martin's flasher.
Like, you're not
how that thing works.
I know, right? But yeah,
it's an advantage if you know how to use it in certain situations. I think on a grass flat, I don't know how that really helps you, unless you got the 360. And that's a little bit different, where you can kind of see the fish swimming, and it's like a radar that circles the boat, and you can kind of see what's swimming, and you kind of got an idea of where to throw. You know where they're at.
Yeah.
That is an advantage. But I mean, you can blind. I've never had it. I've never used electronics to catch a fish in a tournament, and I've done just fine. And I like blind casting. I like trying to figure things out and reading the water and reading the situation, the water temperature, the clarity, what baits I'm using. I mean, I like all that stuff. I love it. You know what I mean? And I think you probably would get a little lazy if you had a computer telling you where all the fish were. And it would make life easier, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think we're on the same page. And I would add that I think it's great if you primarily fish in structure. But like for our club, we do a lot of grass fishing. It's only because the primary cover is grass.
And it's a reservoir, definitely an advantage.
Yeah, I've never seen it used in a grass fishery, so I don't even know how well it would read. But
Did you see Southeast Georgia?
Southeast Georgia kayak bass fishing. Good evening. Golly, that is. I'm assuming that might be your PV. That is a massive fish in your profile photo. Hey, I'm hoping that you're safe down there, because yeah, you guys are just getting off of Helene. Surfing season is wild, but
But he went on to say that you can use side imaging just like forward facing sonar.
I need a master class on that.
You can. You can. Because it'll tell you where the rocks are. And if you know how to line that thing up, like in relation to where your boat is and how far out that rock pile is, or you can see the fish too, because they'll come up as shadows on your side imaging.
Mm,
That's the telltale sign. And if you could, it's like a snapshot. You don't see them swimming, but it's just a snapshot of where they are. If you're good at figuring out the distances, like how far the fish are from you, and you know where to throw, that could be a cool way to catch them too. I tried it on the reservoir. I had a marker buoy. It's just a floating device with a string that has a piece of lead attached to it. It sinks all the way to the bottom. But if you pass over something interesting, you just drop the marker buoy, and then when you turn back around, you know how to turn back around and cast. You know exactly where you're casting to. That's one way to do it.
yeah. I'm still
Yeah, I'm
laughing
the
at.
same way, Southeast. I'm the same way.
Excuse me. Southeast Georgia kayak bass fishing said that it's not his PV in his profile picture. His PV is a 14. I don't even know that type of
Is that
quality of
inches?
bass. I don't even know if that quality of bass exists within a 50-mile radius of where we are. But congrats to you. Kudos to you. That I would love to see the fight.
That's a freaking world record, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, that would look prehistoric for sure. Um, so question though, and we got to move on to the next topic. But would you equate like a flogger to being the same thing as using forward-facing sonar? Is it really any different?
I've never used one. I've only seen one on Bassmasters Live, and I always wonder what it looks like looking through it. So I can't even tell you anything about it.
I mean, what do y'all think? Should floggers? Because I don't even know if that's in our rules. Like if somebody is out there fishing and they have a flogger during a tournament, is that a DQ? I need to look that up. But based on our conversation tonight, I don't think it should be.
I'm always of the mindset that you don't need live scope. You just need skills.
Yeah,
All the fish I've caught, it's because of skills and luck.
I
I
think
didn't
that's
have
fishing.
any I didn't have any idea. I mean, there's been so many times where, especially you're going down a bank. I've been going to. I remember one tournament vividly. I was a bass boat tournament. We're going down a bank. We're on a sassafras. We're going down a bank, and the boater hadn't caught a fish all day. It's early in the morning. Neither one of us has a fish, and he's wearing this lay down out. He's just throwing all kinds of stuff in there, jigs and everything. He's not catching anything. And I had a War Eagle spinnerbait. Anybody that was at the Midsummer Madness, you know about these War Eagles. We were giving them away. War Eagle to me is the best spinnerbait, hands down. That's a moneymaker. I threw a War Eagle up into the laydown, and the War Eagle barely touched the water, and I got hit. I could barely turn the crank, and it got hit. And it was a 5.5 pounder. One eye. 5.5 pounder. The boater turns around and looks at me. He's like, I just threw at that tree. I threw everything at that tree, and I didn't even get a bite. You throw over there one time and you get a 5.5 pounder. There was no technology involved. There was nothing. I just read the situation. I saw what he was throwing. I just threw something different. I didn't have a forward facing sonar that can shine up under thing and look at it and see what's in there and gauge whether or not I even want to waste my time on that tree. I just looked at the tree, saw an alley, and just boom.
Yeah.
Those are the things I love about fishing.
I mean, that right there is what I want to teach my son. I don't want to teach him how to just have his neck bent down at a screen all day and called, because in our last episode we talked about how like fishing to us is our outlet. Like it's a way for us to relieve stress, be one with nature. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think fishing the quote unquote old school way, it helps me build my instincts and my confidence. Like looking at the weather for the past 2 weeks, looking at the water clarity and the water temp and the stain on the water and whatever the sky conditions are, and making decisions. When you catch a fish after doing that, like that's the ultimate dopamine hit for me,
Yes,
right? Like I feel like a genius if I get onto a pattern or an area bite and I feel like I understand why it's happening. There's no better feeling. And Southeast said it again. He said if you keep a log of your catches, your water temps, the season, moon phases, and lures, that's
I
the
agree.
old way of catching bass.
I agree.
That's the epitome of fishing.
There was a guy, it was a story I heard a long time ago. This guy used to dominate that local circuit, and he kept a log of all his fish catches, like what the temperature was, what the air temperature was, the water temperature, the moon phase was, whether it was cloudy, sunny, rainy, whatever was going on, whether it was windy. He wrote down all the conditions for that day when he caught his fish, and he had like an almanac,
Hmm.
like of every month, like how he cataloged every fish catch for years, and he referred back to it during tournaments, and it helped him unlock the key to catching fish, and it was just because he kept a log.
The, the angler out of Ohio, Bass Fishing HQ, Tyler Berger, he fishes a lot of Wednesday Matters and tournaments, and he does the same thing. He has a Google sheet. Could you imagine handing that off? Like what that would be worth, you know? Like your archive of fishing knowledge and history,
It's invaluable.
it definitely is invaluable. But Carl, we got to keep it moving. Also, we got an invite from Southeast to hop on a podcast. So, um,
I need to get you guys on the May Contain Fishing podcast. Talk about the difference of North versus South bass fishing. Ooh,
that sounds cool.
ooh.
Hey, I'm in.
Are we considered North?
I believe so. But I don't think we're considered North Country. Like
We're
if you
like on the
follow,
line, though.
yeah, we're in the like I'm a big grass guy. I like having a nice lawn. We're in the transition zone. Like it's in between like North and South. So, but I think we are more North than South because we don't have Florida strain bass here, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's my grandma Maple Senior would say, "You only turn down your collar." Topic 3: tournament strategies and success stories.
Hmm. I almost feel like we need to have some guys on here like Charlie Russler,
Yeah.
Josh, Jesse, Ketchum, Josh Evans, by the way. And have a discussion on that, like almost like a panel discussion.
Yeah,
Mickey,
definitely the hammer.
Nate Hall.
Goodness. Yeah.
Nate Hall is another one that doesn't use motors. I don't even know if he uses electronics.
He's a
But
real
I do
dude.
know he won a lot of money this year.
Yeah. Get Kyle on here. Did you mention Kyle?
Yeah, Cal too. That's right. I would love to hear his perspective because he's coming at it from a brand new. Everything is brand new well, not anymore, but it was brand new to him. Kayak fishing. So that would be an interesting take. Him and his dad.
Milkman 1968 is saying that we are south of the Mason-Dixon.
True. That's what I said. Are we considered the North?
I think we are
we're not
considered-
Georgia. Georgia, to me, that's the Southeast. I think their summers are a little bit longer. Their winters are a little bit longer. I don't know.
Technically, I guess we are. I mean, I grew up in Southern Maryland, and just going off of accents alone, some of the draws in Southern Maryland are the strongest I've ever heard. I love where I grew up. It's like a nice mix of everything. But also, I grew up next to a cattle farm. A lot of people don't know that. This is just sharing random information now. Anywho,
The question is, how do you prepare mentally and physically for a major tournament?
that's the question. I think we should go over mental first.
Who's fishing it? Is Nate Hall in there?
Yeah.
I'm staying home.
The hat trick went 3 for 3 on 2 different fisheries.
You know, honestly, to really get it down to the brass nuts of the thing, I love fishing against guys that can fish. It's a good measuring stick. I mean, if you're competitive, and I'm very competitive, I want to know where I stand. I want to know where I measure up against some of the greats in the area, guys that are hot. I want to know, where do I rank?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the guys that fish, not everybody, but they're sort of the same way, very competitive, and they want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes, our spring tournament with NKBF and NBKBA such an awesome experience, because you have all of the elite anglers in those clubs competing at the same time. And, we have other partnered events, but that is the premier event right now, is that spring event. And if you want to see where you measure up, that's what you have to enter.
You see Kyle down here in the comments.
Hold on. I'm just going to put this on the screen and read it live.
Oh, man. I feel you, Kyle. I feel you, man.
Kyle Christopher says, mentally for me, I talk my wife's ear off the whole week before what I want to work. And I hope it goes.
She's probably like, Is that right?
Listen, but Kyle's wife probably knows so much about fishing.
I'm serious. She probably does.
We should do a partners event. And maybe we can talk to Chris, see if a demo day or something. Because, I mean, like, my wife knows what a point is. I mean, sure, Kyle's wife knows, cover versus structure. But can they apply it? Can they apply it? They got the book knowledge. But yeah, no, I do think it's a mindset. Southeast is saying mentally, it's just don't listen to others and stay in my little world. Man, doc talk can get you in trouble.
Yes, it can.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
it can.
I appreciate that comment.
90% of it is BS.
People trying to throw you off.
They're trying to throw, yeah, exactly. They're trying to send you somewhere else.
Yeah.
They can go around the corner and catch all the fish.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's mindset. Like, there are times where I won't even look at Tourney X until I've either got a limit or until the end of the tournament. Especially if it's tough, I don't want to start comparing, right? Like, because if I start comparing, it might just be a tide thing for me. Like, you never know. And then you start playing mind games. Like, on those days, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I don't even get caught up in the tide anymore. Like, I don't even care what tide it's on. Like, some guys are really like really pay attention to it. Like, I don't even pay attention to the tide. It's like, whatever the tide is, that's the tide. I'm just going to fish it. There's going to be a lull throughout the day. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Some tides are better than others, but I don't even care about the tide anymore. I just go out and fish.
You mentioned that to me, and that's when I realized that you were different. Like, you've reached a level of elite fishing that I haven't tapped into yet. But
you know how I can tell whether or not the tide's moving and which direction it's moving in?
The graph.
Yeah, I can look on my graph and it'll tell me exactly where we're at, which stage we're. But I just look at the grass. Like, if the grass is going into the mouth of whatever creek I'm in or whatever, the tide is coming. And if it's leaning the other way going out, the tide is going out.
That makes sense.
Then I go find some ditches.
Oh. Yeah.
I get mentally prepared to go find some ditches.
There you go. But yeah, that you just dropped a gem. Like, looking at the direction that the grass is in as your guide, that's a huge tip because you're no longer using tide charts at that point. It's literally you're in tune with what's around
I wish I could. I agree with Southeast. I wish I could listen to some music in my earphones, but that's a little dangerous because you want to hear engines,
you. Yeah.
bass boats coming at you. You don't want to be out there deaf, dumb, and blind.
Now he did
Yeah,
say while warming up though.
maybe when you're setting your stuff up before you launch, yeah, have some headphones on or whatever. Yeah.
Um,
Kyle is a comedian, man. She
oh, for
looks
sure.
at me like you've done good before, you'll do it good again.
Is
Yeah.
Kyle's wife a therapist? Because I feel like she's just dropping just wisdom on Kyle. Maybe that's why Kyle did so well. Kyle may have done so well because of his wife. X Factor. Um, so question, Carl. Like before we switch to the physical, um, mentally, what do you do on those tough days where the bite is slow? You might be down to throwing like a Ned rig or a backy rig or your favorite, a drop shot. And it's just like Jesse said, like on one of the days of the tournament, he was just dragging a worm all day, finessing.
I had a day like that a couple weeks ago. I fished a team tournament on the Upper Bay, and the Upper Bay is like really high right now. Like it's really high. I mean, it at least a couple weeks ago, I heard it was still kind of high last weekend, and I don't think I had an experience fishing on the bay when it's that high. Um, and I don't think the fish, even if the tide goes out, it's still considered high even after it went out because the tide was so high to begin with. So I don't think the fish, and I'm just guessing, I don't think they retreat back to those ditches and stuff like that. I think they're still spread out because there's so much water over their head, and they're harder to catch. And I skunked. I skunked. I had a couple on, but they got off. But I skunked the whole 8 hours, and that sucks to go out fish 8 hours, and I'm chucking and winding. And where I went wrong was like when the water is really high and the fish don't set up, for when the tide is going out. You have to fish slow. You have to fish slower than slow. And I was unwilling to do that. I kept chucking and winding, trying to force feed them, and I got my behind handed to me. And that's how it go. That's how it goes.
Yeah, it's like that at times. In those situations, I try to find some type of takeaway, and it looks like you figured out that going even slower was the trick. So that's the mental note to take from it. But yeah, tidal water is a beast in itself, Southeast.
Yeah, you got
So
to fish it regularly,
yeah,
for sure.
indeed. But physically, how, what do you do physically? Because I mean, you placed even higher than I did in the tournament season that we fished for river runners. Um, you're not just fishing 8 hours. Like it's more than that when it comes to the mental and the physical, the practice leading up to it. Um, how do you prepare physically for a tournament?
Physically, I mean, I stay in shape through playing a lot of basketball.
Mhm.
I recently started lifting weights,
Okay.
and I'm already seeing benefits from that. I'm not lifting the gym by any means,
All
but I went to the gym the other day, and my buddy was there with his wife, and his wife was lifting more than me. So I had to like go work on a little machine or something.
The body doesn't know how much weight's on the body. It's called resistance training for a reason.
Nah, man, but I definitely see the benefits of it. So when you're lifting these heavy kayaks, I'm car topping mine just like you are.
Yeah.
It helps. Every little bit helps. So especially after 8 hours of just slinging baits, you're tired and you got to put this 100-pound beast up on your roof. It takes a lot out of you sometimes. So, I'm taking better care of my body physically this year than I did last year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this season for sure.
I got to circle back really quick to the mental aspect. Kyle said that his dad got him through some tough days in the water, where he ended up doing great. Second place on the Potomac, his dad kept him mentally positive all day, and he always pushes him to not give up. That's such a great.
Man, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I wish I could fish with my dad.
I am jealous, man. That is awesome to have your dad there, pep talking you through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that ultimately, that's how we have to be with our kids, our sons, our daughters. We have to be the same way. I mean, you got to give them a pep talk when things get tough.
If my son wants to fish and we can have that experience, I think my life would be made. I had to Google this, but Milkman 1968 said Geritol, which is a vitamin supplement that gives extra energy. So check that out. But back to what you were saying, though, working out is huge. Working out, although it sounds counterintuitive, I majored in kinesiology, so it's like pre-physical therapy, phys ed type of degree. A lot of people think that working out, because it requires energy, will make you feel tired. But it actually gives you the ability to have more energy when you recover from it. Yeah. So it's definitely beneficial in more ways than one. Southeast is saying physically, getting on the water in every condition, you can learn in those conditions. I cannot wait until we talk about some interesting conditions that some of our anglers ran into this past season and how they learned from those conditions. But that's a conversation for another day.
Hydrate. Yeah, hydrate.
Hydrate some
more. That
is
key.
Man, especially during Midsummer Madness. Golly, it was hot. And those guys stuck it out and stayed even later for the
like ice cream drink. Nothing.
Milkman is saying it's for old people. Hey, you got to do whatever you got to do to get out there, I was saying, coming from racing motocross, it's similar in a few ways as far as the mental things go. I can see that. I can see that for sure. For me, one thing that I've noticed, I actually hired a nutritionist last year because I was having some health issues. And what she has me doing is not consuming processed food. And I didn't realize until she gave me my first quote unquote homework assignment. She told me not to eat any like refined sugar. And I never realized how much refined sugar I was consuming, like in my coffee. She let me still use condiments like ketchup and stuff, but anything in a package, anything in a box, anything that you pretty much can't go outside and grow, I had to cut out. I went through withdrawal, y'all, but like as a result of it, not eating like whole, like real, it sounds crazy to say, but eating real food makes such a huge difference. And it's like, it's not just on tournament day. It's leading up to it as well,
Yeah.
And then again, with Richard Dahl, hydration is everything. I think every tournament day I have at least 2 Gatorades and like a big hydro flask of cold water.
But you're absolutely right as far as like leading up to tournament day and what you eat. It is important. Trying to eat healthy, eat stuff that you don't want to eat too many spicy foods because you're out there on your kayak. But just eating healthy, man, and that helps preserve your energy. Keeps your energy level up, and if your energy level is up, you think better, you make better decisions. You're not making decisions out of fatigue. You're making like clear-minded decisions. Okay, well, I need to switch up and do this. I need to make this adjustment instead of panicking because you're tired or you spinning out of control because you try to force feed them something and they don't want it.
Yeah, and I would also recommend not eating anything that you typically don't eat on tournament day. I would not introduce anything new to your system on the day of the tournament. All right, because listen, those dude wipes will run out.
Man.
The dude wipes will run out, and I'm just gonna leave that there. Yeah. You want to move on? Are we
Back
on
with
top?
no socks. Like Gerald, what's his name?
Are you
G-Man.
talking about Swindle?
Yeah, Swindle.
Um,
Love that dude.
yeah, man. Look at that jig he has too. Conservation and ethical fishing practices. We have that topic in addition to the future of kayak bass fishing. Uh,
Maybe we can,
it's 10:22. So
yeah.
how do you want to play this?
We can table it till the next episode, and when we have somebody going through their gear, we need to put a shout out to all the anglers who want to do a walkthrough of their kayak.
Indeed.
And if Chris Leslie wants to do a walkthrough of some kayaks at Big Bass USA
Yeah.
at the
I have a,
top of the show, that would be cool
that would be
also.
good. And I have a surprise for next episode as well. So look out for
Another,
that. Yeah, this is actually custom CRM content that is exclusive to CRM only. So you
you
have
know,
that to look
you,
forward to.
you know who we for. Oh, I know what it is.
Mhm.
You know who we forgot to mention?
As a sponsor.
Officially and unofficially, iRod.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Um, yeah, iRod is a new sponsor for 2025. And I mean, when it comes to elite rods, our Angler of the Year fish iRod all season. And we have a pretty sweet deal. You want to tell them about it?
Next episode.
Next episode it is. All right. Karl's saying that he's down to do a tour, a guide of his setup. So Kyle will be reaching out to you. If anybody else would like to show us how their kayak is rigged, please let us know on our Facebook page or in the comments here, and we will contact you. Also, I'm here to see what's on people's tackle walls. As a tackle head, someone who's getting into making their own tackle, I would love to see what folks are stocking up on.
What the tackle cave looks like.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be a cool show.
I'm going to go live from my tackle cave next week. I think that's what I'm going to do, just to set the mood, you know. But
I don't have a tackle cave. It's more like a corner.
we're here for tackle caves and corners.
I don't know. It's remote. I don't know if I can go live.
My, actually, my goal for next season is to catch at least 80% of my bass on tackle I made myself. So that's a personal goal. Count or yeah, and 100% of what I catch on custom lures. I'm trying to go fully custom. Supporting local tackle shops, local makers. Yeah. Milkman 1968 says that he may show us. So, and then Kyle's also offering to show us his tackle room. Kyle's about to have his own episode. Richard Dahl said he's down for both the tackle room and his kayak.
Awesome.
Okay, we have episodes for days. I think we might have to split some of these up, but I'm here for it.
We're gonna have to get into Richard's DM,
Yep.
Kyle, and whoever else wants to
Southeast?
showcase their kayak setup in
That's
our
good.
next show. It's all about the setup, man.
And how your setup works for you on the water, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can just copy and paste someone's setup and assume that it's going to work for you, you know?
Yeah.
What's up, Ricky? Ricky says that he loves the idea. So, hey, listen, Ricky, as soon as you get your boat, you're on the show.
What's
You
up,
know?
Ricky?
Mr. Hughes.
Is
in the
that
building.
He-Man and She-Ra?
It sure does look like it.
Dude,
Classic.
I remember when that came on TV, like after school, like it was Transformers on Saturday. It was He-Man. What was the other one? Voltron and all the cartoons came on after school. That never happens anymore.
No,
Like there's no cartoons after school anymore.
it's all Fortnite and all this stuff that I don't know anything
Video
about.
games.
Oh man, Milkman 1968 is saying he has baits that are 30 years old that have never seen the water. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Like I know there's some of those legacy lures that are like like the Spro Little John. They changed it a little bit. Like the one you buy now isn't the one
Yeah.
that people went crazy over when it first came out and stuff like that. So I know guys who look on eBay for some of that stuff that is no longer made. But anywho,
Yeah.
we got to wrap. Look forward to kayak tours and tackle tours next week. I'm gonna go ahead and say it would probably be Kyle since he kind of commented first, but
We can do two.
we can do two.
We can feature two guys.
He will
Yeah.
be the second featured guest. You gotta stay tuned to find out.
Richard. Yeah. Or was it Milkman? I can't keep track.
Milkman said he may show us,
Oh, okay. He's non-committal, but committal.
but then he also bragged about his 30-year-old baits, so it sounds like he's interested.
I want to see some of these 30-year-old baits.
That's what I'm saying.
I do have a Shakespeare bass tackle box that has not been used, and I'm pretty sure that thing is old.
Oh, what?
My father had it in his garage, and he doesn't fish. I don't even know what he was doing with this thing.
Got some legacy baits in here.
Yeah.
But we'll wait to show those next week. But I want to see those baits. Bring them out, Karl. Bring out the ancestral baits.
I'm gonna bring them out. I looked it up on eBay, and those things are going for a nice little penny too. They were. So I haven't touched it. Like some of this stuff has not been like a lot of it is brand new. It has not been open.
Karl, I didn't know that you were a second generation angler. I mean, I think that's how most guys fall into the sport. But
well, my dad, I came over his house and he just had a bunch of stuff out there. He's like, "Here, take this." Cleaning out his garage. I'm like, all right. Yeah.
Okay. Milkman 1968 is going to be at Caddo next week. Lucky you. I think Christine Fisher's practicing out there now.
I even got a bilge pump from my dad. Look how much this thing costs. This had to be back in the 90s, early 90s.
It's a $22.99. Is that it?
$32.99.
$32.99.
This is a 500-gallon. Supposed to do 500 gallons, man. Hey, you can put that in your kayak.
Indeed. Southeast, we're grateful that you tuned in. Glad that you found us as well, and we're looking forward to chatting with you about that podcast. So
appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Yeah, Karl, we need to see all of that stuff though. So yeah, we need to make that happen. Maybe we'll do our tour as an episode of its own.
Mine's not that impressive. You're just gonna see jackhammers and swim jigs.
I think it shows how bad
a lot of soft plastics.
Less is more. Less is more. How many lures can you throw in one day? Actually,
I don't know, man.
Anything. All right,
we're signing off.
Signing off. Tight lines, everybody.
Appreciate you guys popping in today with the comments. Appreciate you. And everybody else out there watching. Till next time, PRM.